Hello, Taylor Elwood here, and welcome to the Magical Experiments podcast. I'm doing a solo episode here, and today I'm answering the question: is energy work necessary for connecting with spirits or working with demons? And really, I decided to turn it into: is energy work necessary, period? That was a great question. Here's my thought process in all this. I think that energy work is not absolutely necessary for doing connecting with spirits or doing work with daemons. I don't even know that energy work is necessarily is honestly necessary for anyone to practice magic. And both right. I also think that energy work provides a layer of context and contact and another layer of knowing and being that can be really powerful. So, when we look at why we're doing what we're doing, that's one of the questions or experiences that I think is important to sit with. Why am I doing this work? How am I doing it? What is the context here? Well, energy work provides an additional layer of context. I didn't start out practicing energy work. I didn't even know what energy work was until I was like 19, 20 years old. Yeah. I remember reading Barbara Ann Brennan's Hands of Light, cracking that enormous tome open, reading it, going through and being like, ooh, this is pretty cool. And that's how I started learning energy work. And as I learned it, I began thinking about some of the experiences that I had and how some of those experiences, like with the elemental spirits, could be translated into experiences of energy. And what I came to realize is that each energetic experience has its own flavor, its own its own interpretation, its own embodiment, and that all of that could be a really powerful way of connecting with the presence of a given spirit. And it didn't really make sense to me to artificially limit the work. So I think that sometimes people do that. They artificially limit the work that they could be doing. Oh, well, I'm not going to include energy work. Well, or I'm only going to do energy work. Like, why do that? This kind of goes back to the models of magic thing. So, like, there's the psychological model, there's the information model, there's the energy model, and then there's, I don't know, some other model. I don't even remember all the models. And honestly, I don't even care about all the models. I'm kind of like, those are descriptors of how something seems to work. And I know this is me saying that, and people will say, but you always say, like, you should know how magic works, like what you're doing. Well, yes, I do. um, and I find that the models in and of themselves are basically kind of a way for people to have arguments about magic as opposed to actually doing slash being magic. If I'm going to be doing magical work, if I'm going to quote unquote be magical work, I just want to fucking do and be magical work. I don't want to have to go and be like, okay, here's all the theoreticals. And this is kind of the stuff that I see a lot of times in magical and spiritual work. So I think it's worthwhile to note that and to kind of just take in that context and say, well, okay, this is a particular process or methodology. A lot of people learn it through Reiki, but of course, there's a lot more than just that. There's Taoist Qigong. There's stuff from Barbara Ann Brennan's books. There's other material out there. There's a lot of different things about energy work, and I would say learn it all, and then see how it applies. Because really, what we're doing is we're learning to experience the world around us on another layer of knowing and being that all of us have access to, and yet none of us have been told we have access to. I think that's the way I kind of liken it, because I notice a lot of times that there is a tendency to perhaps diminish or not fully appreciate what is there. And, that matters. Like, why do we do energy work? What is it that we do? Those things matter. The practice of our energetic work is significant in the sense that it gives us this way of knowing. So if you've been practicing magic for a long time, this can be a way to really experience the world around you in a different way. And I think that that is a good format in terms of kind of the spiritual work that we do, because we want to open ourselves up to different ways of knowing. I've done a lot of magical work over the years, and what I find is the more I expand into alternative ways of knowing the world over what like the conventional way of knowing is, the better off I am. And I don't want to rely upon just one way of knowing. This is one of the reasons why I've integrated somatic experiencing into my work. It's another layer of being and experience that can help shape the world around me. And I think that it's really important to be exploring this kind of work as a way of opening doors for ourselves. So when we look at this kind of work, we really want to sit with the idea that, oh, hey, this is something that I can do. I can do energy work. I can do somatic work. I can do ritual magic. I can do work with like temperature and incense and oil and all these other different sensorial modalities or experiences, and all of it can help me embrace and understand the power of this work and allow me to have meaningful connections with the spirits, meaningful connections with other beings, things along those lines. And this is also kind of a good point to really kind of look at, like, where are we limiting ourselves? If I'm relying upon one modality or another, maybe I need to really expand myself outside of that. For example, if I'm only looking at magic from the perspective of like ritual magic, well, what am I missing out on? What would happen if I applied some perspective that incorporated information as a meaningful stream that could flow into the magical work? How would that change things? These are good questions to ask. Or what would happen if I integrated energy work into my practice and discovered that, oh, the energy shapes things in a very specific context that I wouldn't have thought of? All of this is essential, powerful, real, and we want to be doing this. So I love it. I'm here for it. And that's one of the reasons why I think energy work is necessary. I think any form of modality or knowing can be necessary, and it's good to expand ourselves outside of what we know to discover what we can learn. Because when we do that, we continually discover who and what we are and how that allows us to transform the world around us. All right, thank you for watching this video, and I will see all of you in the new year. Take care.